Alright, folks, hello and welcome. This is going to be slightly a different format than my usual, but some of you who've been with the channel for a little while may remember it's just around a year ago, around the unfortunate passing of the legendary Akira Toriyama, I started this game here called Sandland, which is based on a somewhat lesser known work of Akira's that I happen to actually really enjoy, featuring this little demon guy and his human friends, and well, human and half demon, spoiler, friends, fighting this imperial force that was basically holding back water and resources from the rest of the people in this desert continent. And I played 21 episodes of that before Google Tube kind of started messing with my views, and I kind of let it slide in favor of doing some other stuff that YouTube wasn't strangling to death. But that being said, it's been a little while, and with me, one thing you can listen for if I really like a game is if at any point I mention I have a secondary save that I'm playing in between recordings. This is actually my secondary save that I was playing on my own time while I was recording the other save file for the channel. And I did actually play this game to completion, entirely to completion. I beat the whole game. I'm actually in the post-game free roam mode on this file. And for those of you that have seen that, you've seen I mostly used the tank, obviously, you know, ex-tanker and all that shit. But there's lots of other stuff you can find in this game. Like, we'll go in here into ride selection. And you can see we've got my tank, which is considerably more tricked out than the one I'm using on my other file. We've got the hover car, which I've also upgraded. The jump bot. The combat robot, which I don't even remember if I have that yet in that file. I don't think I have this yet on the other file. And the jet bike, which I absolutely do not have. But there are other things. We've got... Let's see. We've got the car, which we had upgraded quite a bit. And that's the car you basically start with. The copy of Anne's motorcycle, complete with a little scout drone that we added to it, and some miniguns. A quad ATV with machine guns and a rocket launcher. The Hopper, which is a smaller but less versatile version of the Jump Bot, with a obviously different weapon loadout. It's also obviously just a motorcycle with legs attached to it. A little hover speeder, like Vespa thingamabob with some big-ass guns on it. A monobike, for those of you who may have seen Venus Wars, which is kind of a funny little thing to see, and a nice reference. The hover tank, which is more like a hover gun platform, and it's odd in its own little way. But I figure what I'll do here, apart from discussing that, is we'll just pop out and take a little spin around the map. Now, it was pretty clear, you know, back when I was playing this, that I was pretty much enjoying most elements of the game. I had very few complaints, and the ones that did were just minor things that were partially my fault, honestly, for not paying attention to certain mechanics or, you know, timing in a boss fight or something. But overall, I was very amused with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I did play this a lot. Even after having beaten the main story, I did spend a lot of time just wandering around the world.
In an entirely different way from
yes, thank you, Rao. Let's see. We'll just pop out our good old tank first. And for any of you who remember what...
I've got a headache already.
What the, I think it was like the Sandwolf 104 looked like in my other file. This is a pretty decent departure from the kit and loadout my standard tank was using in the other file. You see, we're out here in Forest Land. The naming conventions are appropriately kind of goofy. Sandland is the one country, Forest Land is the other one. Your standard stuff. We still got the nitros, but the nitros aren't really nitros. They just speed it up a little bit. There's no actual nitros on the tank.
I wouldn't call this some big secret, but predicting your opponent's next move will give you an advantage.
We have a 105mm cannon on here as opposed to the 76.2mm cannon we had on the tank on the other file. It's got a decent rate of fire, partially because we upgraded the rate of fire deliberately in the upgrade section. I had enough parts where I upgraded the rate of fire and the ammo capacity, which is a big improvement. It was a bit slow firing before. We also have a minigun turret. It says Gatling, whatever. It's not a Gatling, you're not hand cranking it. But that's a trope I've just kind of gotten used to with a lot of games, calling it a Gatling. The alternate weapon on this is kind of funny. I don't remember when I got it, 'cause it's been a while, but if you bring this up, we just Macross the hell out of this shit. And then we'll just unload on this giant prehistoric cat monster thing here. Now, the big rocket pod obviously has a cooldown. It's kind of powerful, especially if you have one particular enemy, because all those friggin' rockets are going to hit that one enemy. It's kind of a nice thing to use against some bosses or bigger enemies when you have it available. I'll pop a couple of... Not the most accurate thing, but it's accurate enough. You just gotta bleed a little bit. There's no auto-aim on, you know, which is fine with me. We'll pop onto here. Let's pop onto our old jump bot, which was another one of our regulars in the other file. This one's got a better grenade launcher. It also has some machine guns on it.
Their soldiers must undergo extensive
Typical
training.
sprint. The nitro bar on this one, for those who don't remember, is for the boost, and this one's jump is appropriately ridiculous because we upgraded it more than the one in the other game file. Got a pretty decent machine gun on here, as you can see by the fact that this cat is not just taking chip damage, he's taking some actual damage from the machine gun. Reload that. We'll swap to the revolving grenade launcher. It says revolver grenade launcher. I don't know if it's a typo, if they did it on purpose, or if it's a translation thing. Would you like a grenade, sir? Of course you would. It's also an incendiary grenade, so that's some decent splash fire damage. These guys are harder to hit because of their dodge, but when they start charging at you, that's when they basically sabotage themselves, because then they're just going to hit the ammo themselves. They're just going to basically leap into it. This one has a missile pod.
You don't have to engage
It's not
every last
bad. It's not as good as the one on the tank, obviously, because the tank's a heavier weapon.
Makes a huge difference.
Oh, we have a thing with some bees in it. Let's try this. You don't get as many missiles, but it is not really that much less effective. And it's still a lot of fun. Obviously, this one doesn't have a scope for aiming because it doesn't have the little, you know, aiming periscope type thing like the tank does. I say periscope because that's basically the way it works on these particular tanks. Okay, let's reload this real quick. Let's see, we'll bring out our big, slow combat robot here. The walk animation on this thing is amazing.
Let's proceed carefully so we don't lose our bearings.
So here is our arm machine gun, which is not bad at all. You could also punch the enemy with that hyper attack thing. Now, like most of the special attacks, it does have a cooldown, but it is no joke. Now, if you notice the little thing on the bottom there, if you position yourself, you can fire a cannon. These little shoulder cannons actually work. You just have to select. Wasn't expecting that. So yeah, it's a nice, can be a nice mid-range brawler. The machine gun, if you kit it properly. The machine gun's nice. Its downside, obviously, is that it is even slower than the tank to get anywhere. It has a dash, but it's very short range. It's more of a burst than a dash. Its jump is appropriately fat, considering the build of the thing. It can hover. Its hover is ridiculous and eats up your nitro like crazy. But in the right situations, this thing is a monster. Then we have this funnel thing. I find it funny that his sister's basically riding side saddle in the back of this thing when you use the little jet bike. Now, its trick is, it is ridiculously fast if you hit this, It doesn't use up its nitro. So this, if you want to get somewhere fast on the map without fast traveling, this is your girl right here, because you could just burn freaking just across the landscape without a care, because your nitros don't burn up when you use the engines on this. And the other guys just use the hover car. Really fast, fairly maneuverable. You can't use the weapons terribly effectively when you're doing this. So you have to slow down to standard speed. The standard speed is about the speed of the tank when you're not using the actual afterburners.
The army's well trained, and the wild beasts.
Head over here real quick. It also doesn't have a full traversal aim. It can only really aim where the bike itself is pointing. So it is a slight detriment to it. Let's see, for effectiveness, we have one of these cats over here. You can zoom in, aim. As you can see, respectable damage on the rocket launches I put on this thing. Not exactly ideal, though. It uses a pair of machine guns. They scatter fire forward. There's a guy over there getting mugged. I'm gonna have to go deal with that in a minute, but first I gotta get rid of this cat. Oh, he actually hit us that time a little bit. Grazed us. Nothing major. Could you go away now, cat? I'm kind of busy. Get. You completely missed that.
At least that was sort of fun.
Alright, reload that. Let's go back and help that guy on the road. Hey, you're being a dick. Stop it. I will fill you full of bullets. And then when I'm done filling you full of bullets, I'm just going to shoot you with a rocket. Good job. Alright. And there's a perfect place to show off the last one. You would have seen this if you were watching this playlist on the last two videos I did. But there has been some upgrades to this one compared to the one I was using in that playlist. For one thing, it no longer has those little dinky machine guns on it. It actually has these little laser placements on it. They're more like plasma guns, really, but it says laser.
The different climate in this
They're not the most accurate things. They do
results in a different
really
ecosystem.
respectable damage, though, for a sub-weapon.
There could be totally
Decent
different
reload
kinds of
time.
plants here too.
Got a rocket launch for your standard, which is not bad at all there. Grab this stuff. Pop this little doofus dinosaur. Now, if I remember, this leads out to the swamp. Oh yeah, there is no boost on this. The speed this girl goes is the speed she goes. The boost is meant for your little hover jump, which does burn up your boost gauge really fast. So you have to be careful. If you're trying to do any jumping in this thing, yeah, it burns quick, and you have to let it recharge before you do it again. Rocket's got decent accuracy, the ones that I actually put together for it. Because if you remember, you do have to like build some of the weapons, apart from some of the stuff you find. I'm looking for the entrance to the swamp. Okay, no. This is actually the starting area. And that being said, we can just use the map. Let's see. Here we go. And we'll just pop that into the swamp. Now, obviously the water here in spots is too deep for a lot of the vehicles. The only vehicles I have on my person right now I can use is the speeder bike and the hover car. Which is fine. There are some enemies around here that are also using the hover car. There's also some more of those big fuck-off alligators from that set of ruins I did near the end of the last videos. You can see some of the goofballs over there.
I've got a headache already.
More of those big chunky guys. There's a hover car right over there looking at me. The combat here is a little weirder because, you know, you don't have as much maneuverability necessarily with the tank or with the jump bot. So you're all kind of firing and praying in a lot of the time because you're both strafing like crazy. See, I'm definitely taking some hits here. Looks like he's reloading his rockets too. Ultimately, he lost that one. We got some guys over here with rocket launches somewhere. There they are. A very large man with a rocket. There's an entire area out here in these swamps, just full of this particular gang of goobas. There's quite a few of them out here. There's also bigger versions of those crocodiles. And there is actually a whole little mini dungeon out here where the leader of this gang used to be. And if I do pick up, here's the thing. If some of the stuff is interesting, if I do pick back up, because I do still have the other save file where I left it. So if I do pick this back up, I will easily be able to show you guys the stuff that you missed from this file. And then we will go back to the trick camp. Step in here. And we'll show off a couple of the other goofballs that I got. What about the Terragino? No tanks. Very specific. Which is fine, because we're going out here. So let's see. Let's start with the quad. Now, obviously, the quad is a one-person vehicle.
Here we go.
So it's just the prince. Everybody else is chilling in the hover car. This is decently maneuverable. It's got good speed. It has a similar issue as the hover bike does. Well, the jet bike, because there's a hover bike and a jet bike. Is that it can only aim where it's aiming.
Humans just have weak stomachs.
Decent maneuverability, but when you're aiming, it is affected. The incendiary rocket is good. This is definitely kind of a hit-and-run vehicle. And you have to be careful about how you move, because its reverse is not great. The turret can aim independently, but only the rocket turret. And it's not as easy to aim as the tank, in my opinion, but it's still good. And it's got decent speed on it. The problem is you have to aim the camera as the turret. So you have to be looking where the turret is, you know? Or you're just firing blind, more or less. And the fire damage did him in. So the quad's pretty self-explanatory. Let's go to the car. I only used the car a couple times at the time I was doing it. It wasn't super practical. However, the car has an interesting little tidbit of its own, in that it has a lock-on rocket pod. And while this isn't the fastest thing on the road, this rocket is not the weakest weapon on the road either. If you switch the weapon, try to rotate this thing around, the guns only fire forward. So it's a definite problem for it, but the guns are also not exactly weak. So as long as you can play around a little bit, you might take a hit or two when fighting some of these more maneuverable enemies, but it has got enough punch if you upgrade it properly that it can manage. And honestly, it's just kind of fun to drive. It's goofy. It's just like a little mini Humvee, you know, like a Kugelwagen or something with like a little trailer on it with a rocket launcher. Pretty basic, but most of the vehicles in this game are fun to drive. And much like with the Mad Max game, which I feel is like one of the last good games Bethesda made, even after I beat the game, I could personally just spend hours just freaking driving around the wasteland for no reason, just looking for random crap. And Sandland also kind of nailed that for me. So there's enough weird stuff going on in the world, even after you've finished, that occasionally I do like to just pop back on here and screw around out in the world with the vehicles. Speaking of vehicles, let's have a look at the hover tank, which looks absolutely fucking ridiculous. It is a big, clunky, goofy-looking thing with an open cockpit. It's got a scope like the tank somehow.
Demons shouldn't go out looking for trouble, Prince.
Decent range on the little gun. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does what it needs to. However, it does have a actual, wasn't my intention, but it worked, tank cannon on it. It's got decent maneuverability for what it is. It is slow as hell, though. I think it's actually slower than your standard tank. Depending on what kind of engine you put in your tank, too, but still. Now, the funny thing about this, though, is its sub-weapon.
Suspicious, I gather.
Right. That's how they
this fucking thing has a giant beam cannon you can put on it. And it is a specific piece of kit that only this particular tank gets. Now, there is an EMP cannon and a laser cannon that the standard treaded tank can get, but they are not the same as this one. They are pretty different. Still fun, but as far as the big tank, not my favorite thing to use. Got some scorpions over here. And obviously, if I get back into my old file, I'm not going to have some of these vehicles yet. And some of the vehicles I have, like the tank, aren't going to be in as good of a state as the ones I have on this file. Because I've taken hours and hours and a lot of random wandering around, you know, hunting up for resources to get them to the point they're at. But they are still in a decent state. I did check that save file recently. And they're not in a bad state for the level of stuff I'm dealing with. So it wouldn't be bad to come back to that and finish it if people are interested. What the hell was that guy doing? Oh! There's another hover bike. Okay, well that guy's no longer an issue. Like I said, this thing is not as maneuverable as some other things. But look at these guys. Just look at them. Well, that took care of a couple of them. I really thought he could take this thing. If you're interested in me continuing that series, or if I get, you know, at least a few views on this thing, I may pick that one back up because it is unfinished. I did not actually complete the game on that. Only the first, basically about the first little over half of the game I'd finished. Because there's still a lot that goes on in Forest Land from where I left off. But for now, we'll go ahead and stop this one here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed taking a little skim through this again. I certainly have enjoyed playing it again, and I will catch you all later. See you around.